Hi, everyone. It's Joe Veneri, the host of Fit Insider, the show where I talk with the entrepreneurs, executives, and investors who are redefining the business of fitness and wellness. This week, we're excited to bring you the first episode of Startup Spotlight, a recurring series where we speak with early-stage founders working on fitness and wellness startups. We usually focus on established companies, operators, and investors, and we'll continue to bring you those conversations most weeks. But from time to time, we want to highlight companies at the beginning of their journey. So with that, today I'm joined by Cam Porter, the founder and CEO of Core. Core is making it easy for fitness instructors to create branded digital experience across iOS, Android, and the web. In this episode, we discuss the current state of digital fitness, the disconnect between fitness and health, empowering instructors to build an online business, and the challenges Core is facing as they get their product to market. A quick note on today's episode, Anthony and I are working with Cam and the Core team in an advisory role. We're excited to play a small part in helping fitness instructors grow their business. Hi, Cam. Welcome to Fit Insider. Thanks for joining us.
Excited to be here, Joe.
Likewise, man. Excited to talk today. And I think just to kick things off, tell listeners about yourself and what you're working on at Core.
Yeah, I can give quick high-level backstory. Grew up as a Midwest boy in Ohio, went to school, studied computer science, dropped out, played professional soccer for a while, found my way into the venture capital world, got exposed to fitness through that and my stepdad running a Pilates studio where I'm from. And then kind of over the last 2 years, watching him try to grow a Pilates studio and then deal with the implications of COVID, which you and Anthony and Fit Insider have spent a lot of time talking and thinking about, and kind of seeing a number of other people struggle with the challenges that COVID brought on in terms of the acceleration of what digital fitness is. And it got me thinking mostly about how can you help people who are trying to grow a digital fitness business do that in a way that brings them to table stakes with the big players, the biggest of those being right now Peloton. So what does it mean to provide them with the infrastructure so that they can have their own standalone branded application on iOS, on Android, on web? How can you help them deliver white label merchandise, supplements, equipment, all the things it means to be like a holistic provider in the fitness industry? And how can you do that for every player who wants to be there?
Yeah, man, there's a lot in there, obviously, and a lot that you mentioned that I'm personally excited about, Fit Insider, with Anthony as well. And just thinking about this, kind of coming to it honestly with a background in athletics. You mentioned, some experience with the fitness industry in the family. Just how long you've been thinking about this idea, and kind of how long are you into working on it?
Yeah, so I think the real nuggets of the idea came from my stepdad and his studio, and really kind of once I had joined the venture capital world. We kind of would have a conversation, be like, Cam, you're a VC now, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm a VC. He's like, okay. Don't VCs like help people make businesses really big? Like, yeah, I guess they do. He's like, okay, how do you make my Pilates studio really big? It's like, okay, like let's sell stuff online, whatever. And 2 years ago, that meant like you could spin up a Shopify store, sell some yoga pants or whatever it may be, but it didn't really encompass the digital content, at least the way we conceive it today. Fast forward over those 2 years, I was kind of a part of a group called AliCorp, where we not only do venture style investing in New York, but we also launch companies. And that's actually where I spent most of my time. So AliCorp has launched companies like MongoDB, $14 billion database company, Business Insider, Gilt Group, Zola. And so really just thinking about how do you take these kind of obvious truths that are out there and turn them into really venture scale businesses. And this kind of nugget over those 2 years really grow into something that we thought we should pursue and change. As you guys have noted, the fitness industry is only ballooning. And I think it's ballooning as a function of this underlying problem of health and wellness in society. And we need to figure out how do we get more people who are inspired by the mission of making other people well, the capacity to earn a sustainable living pursuing it. And so that in and of itself has really gotten me excited and made me kind of flip the switch in May to pursuing this full time. And over the course of the last 6 to 8 months, we've really gone from that, raising a seed round from AliCorp, to we're a team of 10 full-time right now, bringing on another 4 to 5 engineers over the next month, and really hoping to kind of put our first version of the product out there by end of year for our first set of foundational instructors.
It's an exciting time for sure. And so you're sitting at the kind of the intersection of, two problems. We've talked about this offline, like the intersection of, there's this digital fitness, everything's moving online. We're trying to figure out what does fitness look like in a virtual world, I guess. And then at the same time, we're also you're addressing this issue of like, well, what is fitness to begin with? Who is it really serving? Are we making people healthier as we go about doing that? Just how are you thinking about the problem and the opportunity that you're sitting kind of in the middle of?
Yeah, I think like over the last 2 years, really spending a deep dive in kind of venture capital and watching startups, I think so much of the really great companies is predicated on a real foundational insight about how some conception of an industry is changing. And I think fitness should go through one of those changes. The reason being is that I think so much of the fitness industry is predicated on this idea that fitness and being fit and looking good and performing is something to aspire to. And if you go back all the way to the Greeks, to Japan, to wherever in the world throughout history, fitness was never viewed like that. It wasn't kind of an aspirational thing. It was the foundation to being a human. For the Greeks, they call it arete, which is just kind of the pursuit of excellence and fulfillment. And you needed three things: your mind, body, and soul to all be functioning to get there. JFK actually in the 1960s saw this happening in American society, and he tried to push for hours of mandatory physical education in every high school and school in America. He died, unfortunately, and a lot of this fizzled with him. And I think we've seen kind of what's happened as we've forgotten what physical education is. I think hospitals and orthopedics surgery centers are seeing more joint injuries, broken bones amongst our youth and our adult populations. And it's because we've forgotten how to use our bodies. And so really, I think what we're trying to build here at Core is a platform so that people who are really pursuing what fitness should be, fitness as like something that is foundational to the experience of your humanity, which sounds cheesy, can have a place to build a sustainable business. And I think way more than sustainable doing it. I think people like Kayla Etsinas has done that for women with what she's done. And she's built an incredible, incredible business that's far larger than almost every other venture-backed company. And I think it's because she's built on something genuine and authentic and is not just trying to build tools to deliver some software experience. And that's really what we're trying to curate and the bigger problem we're trying to solve.
And so much of that's, personally really exciting to me. And just quick sidebar, way off topic, but, coming from a world where I studied history and political science, the JFK kind of speech and movement around, like, how do you get people to embrace not only fitness, but like sportsmanship and activity as a part of their life? That's something that we actually plan to cover in Fit Insider, so more overlap there. But now bringing this into a world where you have kind of two different consumers, right? You have the end user who's exercising, but really in this case, your real core consumer is that instructor. How do you help them build a sustainable business, as you mentioned, and do it in a way that is authentic and really can scale? So when you think about solving what is a really big problem, like what's that unique insight? How are you going about approaching it in a way that maybe is better than or different to what's currently happening?
Yeah, I think like going back to spending time in VC, I think as COVID hit, you just saw the plethora of companies that did some intersection of live streaming plus payments and scheduling. And that could be for fitness specific, it could be agnostic, it could be for coaching, it could be for gaming. It seemed like a natural place to go. I think unfortunately those type of tools don't get to the actual kind of scalable part of these businesses, at least for fitness instructors, which is how do you move from a world where you're putting time in and getting money out to something that makes money in the background. And so that moves to kind of creating programs, creating content, membership access. That doesn't mean you can't do personalization. You can do templates and messaging, but turning it into something that's scalable. So that's number one, going just beyond just live streaming and turning it into something that can generate revenue in the background. The second one, I think, is a bigger change. And we kind of call it internally dynamic app generation. I think that what's interesting is that we currently operate in a world where we would never say there's too many websites out there because you kind of just access them through Google and you'll find the one you need. On your smartphones, we kind of have for a while believed that there's too many apps, it's hard to download apps. But I think that kind of tide is changing. Apple is moving to more of a search first paradigm. You can now hide whole screens of applications, the app library. Phones have more storage. And so the ability to download an app and interact with content there is becoming easier and easier for more and more people. The problem is that there's no company really tearing down the barriers towards giving creators, and in our case, fitness creators, access to that platform, as well as access to mobile across iOS and Android in a way that says, this is your brand, your content, you set the prices. And so that's really what the big technical problem we're trying to solve. Is how do we make it so like Shopify gave every merchant a store online, how do we give every creator, starting with fitness instructors, access and the ability to spin up a branded iOS, Android, and web experience from a single place as fast as they could spin up a website on Shopify. And I think like if we can hit that goal, I think that's the big thing that will really set us apart in the space and really holistically encompass what we're trying to do for our instructors.
Right. And thinking about where you are now to where you want to be, kind of what that roadmap looks like. What are some of the things that you're most excited about kind of working on now with the team, but also what are some of those challenges that you've identified that said, you know what, this is going to be a pretty significant hurdle for us to get over, but kind of central to this end goal of providing this access for instructors kind of across the board?
Yeah. So ideally, like we're building towards that type of app generation. Initially, we're going to start with more of a centralized experience where we're giving each instructor the ability to kind of rebrand and reskin the core app. That'll make it simpler on both the student side and the instructor side to get up and running. But there are technical challenges even with kind of giving people the ability to do that and sell products on their own through our platform. One of them is payments. I think for people who have dove into the Apple world, just know how challenging payments are with Apple. And when you try and manage potentially thousands of subscriptions simultaneously and offer those through a single product, you're going to run up to the boundaries of what's feasible. And so there's a bunch of interesting challenges around kind of synchronizing payments across iOS and web, and because of web, Android, and dealing with Apple. And so I wish all the best to Epic and Fortnite, that they fight the good fight and make it easier for everyone else. But that's a very real technical challenge. And I think it's something that a lot of people who maybe go down this path will also have to solve. And so I think that's going to be a core insight and core thing we're building upon here.
There's certainly that, the piece that is the technology challenge, bringing on the team, building out the engineers to be able to do that and then adapt the product and feature set over time. But at the same time, fitness, so often is talked about as being personal. It's about relationships. Community is being central to that. How are you thinking about kind of that side of it when you're approaching instructors? Who are these instructors that you want to bring on, and how do you build that kind of community among, the users and the teachers on the platform?
Yeah, I think the internal moniker we use to describe the instructors we're trying to bring onto our platform early on is teachers of teachers. Who are the people that others in the space would really look up to as emblematic of their craft? And we do want to work with people who have a large following to start with, just because we think they're going to be able to attract an audience and attract other instructors. But ultimately, like, audience size is not necessarily a function of where people are. These instructors, we want them to be like authentically interested in pursuing health and wellness. And I think when people see the core brand and what it looks like and what it feels like, we call her kind of internally, it's fitness for everybody. And that's really the key part. And there's some people that embody it and are not just trying to sell the marginal box of supplements. I think like as we build the app, like there's a number of companies that do an incredible job of scaling a personal touch. I think Future Fit is a good example of this with personal training, and there's a lot to be learned there. How you can deliver both fully scalable content, a program, a lot of video on demand, as well as having opportunities for personal messaging, asynchronous feedback, and things like that. And those are the type of ways in which I think we can provide our instructors with the ability to create and nurture a community. And outside of that, like there's tooling just so that they can more easily create content for Instagram or run a Google or Facebook campaign. All these things that aren't actually core to being a fitness instructor, but are part of the expectation of operating in the digital world. And there's other companies that have done a great job for that, for their entrepreneurs, like Compass. They're a real estate brokerage company, and they call their brokers that build on Compass entrepreneurs, and they give them an incredible suite of tools for building and growing on top of Compass. And we hope to do the same for the instructors here.
As these folks are getting onboarded, you're bringing them onto the platform, obviously kind of aiming for, as you said, those teachers of teachers, and then certainly a diverse group of people that, to your point around fitness for everybody, it kind of goes to that fact. How are you thinking about just the go-to-market, launching this out, getting people? Are you placing kind of that onus on the instructor to generate demand? Is there some level of demand that you'll be generating, and how do you get word out about the product?
Yeah, so we're really pushing hard to try and get a first version of this out to our initial set of instructors by the end of the year, with a public launch coming in Q1 where it would be more open. The general reason being is we want to make sure that come the winter season of everyone talking about what they're going to be doing fitness-wise for the new year, our internally instructors and ourselves feel comfortable pushing and marketing this platform as something they want to bring their audience to. I think that we're going to be doing things like this, working with people like you, Joe and Anthony, to help get the word out about what we're doing and finding the right people to work with. We're also going to be spending our own dollars marketing, but ideally the initial instructors we're working with are kind of dealing with an audience that is quite frankly under monetized and wants and expects more content, but instructors are forced with the hard challenge of, do you hire an engineering team to go build an app that you're going to have to maintain on your own? That's a real investment, and it's a real bet on yourself and an ongoing commitment, which is hard to make for a lot of people, even when you see an instructor with hundreds of thousands of followers. I think there's a big misconception about where these people are in their business versus what the reality is on the ground. And we want to kind of bridge that gap, because the reality should be as good as that expectation, because they really are delivering high quality content. It's just unfortunate that they're not able to have the tools to package it in a way that delivers as much value to them.
It's that point is something I've always thought was so interesting, having for a period of time been someone who developed programs for the internet, sold information products, sold coaching, and did that as a way of transitioning out of being in the gym or studio just an ungodly amount of hours a week, where you mentioned trading time for money. It just doesn't work out that way. So thinking about how big that market is, there's really nothing I've seen anybody do that says the business of what instructors are doing online, whether that's selling information products, supplements, courses, there's no way to quantify that. So right now it's really interesting to see everything is being described as kind of digital fitness Peloton versus gyms in this competition for the consumer. And you're thinking, there's hundreds of thousands, millions of instructors out there who are coaching these people who are making these other businesses, the gyms and studios, run. Just, is it even possible to quantify how big that market is of instructors who want and are searching for better ways to reach people?
I mean, look, there's tens of thousands of independent studios in the US. I mean, even CrossFit, I think, has something like 10,000 boxes. And all of these people, like whether they tell CrossFit or not or whatever, are selling their own information products to their friends and family, programs and how to, doing personal training, whatever it is. And I think it's so hard to quantify just the scale of this problem, because look, I just believe like the physical education and fitness problem is one and the same with the health problem here in the US. And if you believe that's an enormous problem that 25% of our GDP is going towards, then there's room. Like, honestly, like, I hope that there's other companies out here that can do an incredible job of tackling this problem, because it is so big and affects us on a societal level that we just need to collectively hack at it. The thing that disappoints me most about the way that information products or digital fitness is going or currently is positioned is so much of it is tailored towards specifically optimization. Algorithmic optimization and personalization. And I guess for us internally, although that's important, look, I'm wearing a Whoop band, an Oura ring, and an Apple Watch. Like trust me, I do all those things. But the fact of the matter is that that's not fitness. For most people, that 99th percentile optimization, how many curls to do, just doesn't matter. It's how do you just wake up and want to enjoy doing something active each day. And that's a much more human problem that I think is solved by activating what you're describing, which is all the people out there who are so hard to count, who are out there selling their pamphlets, their PDFs, a little personal training here and there, who are connecting with people personally and getting them excited about doing something. And I think that's the real personal training and personalization, not optimization. And I think it's those people, if we can activate them, this is how that it really becomes something that's an incredibly big and successful business, not only for ourselves, but for them, and also hopefully affects society in some good ways.
Definitely. And so two things, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but if you think about the roadmap between now and maybe the end of the year, getting this thing launched, just what does that look like? And then, well, I'll let you answer that, then I'll follow up to that.
Yeah. So look, I mean, this next week, part of doing this podcast is we're starting to go more public with what we're doing. Our director of sales, Kelly, who just started, is really going to start connecting with our instructors and formalizing those relationships. Simultaneously, we're going to be kind of building out and kind of completing what the classic VC word, the MVP of our application, so that we can start testing that with a small beta set of instructors. So that can put us in position for that Q1 more public launch. I think what we would describe kind of the following year after that as is kind of really turning this into a platform. Right now, I think it would be fair to say it feels like an app and a website and things like that. But the next year where we have time to kind of invest in some of those bigger problems we discussed earlier, some of the BD solutions around really like how do we make sure these people have access to all the best music, to all the best equipment? Can they teach on at-home equipment platforms that aren't the Peloton? All these other questions that really turn it into something that is core to this ecosystem are really what we're going to be tackling after that.
Do you think this, you mentioned before the kind of rush of different companies that were tackling this problem. Do you think this is all a byproduct of COVID kind of accelerating this trend? Or is this something that needed to happen anyway that maybe would have just taken much longer to say, hey, you know what, the missing link in this chain is getting the instructors to the place where they can run those businesses and not be kind of dependent on the titans of the industry, the big brand names?
Yeah, I think it's more the latter than the former. I think that it's because it's been accelerated, you do have more people just because information travels slowly. Like not every person has heard of every other startup that's pursuing some similar version of this type of idea. And so you end up with more because some people do like 5 set of Googles and they find that someone else has written digital fitness on their website and decide not to start the company. And that just probably has happened less because less people have made their website. But I kind of view fitness to be kind of an industry like retail that's kind of going down a path where you realize that like building the physical footprint first doesn't actually make sense. And so we called that direct to consumer. And it made sense to sell stuff online and figure out if you had a great product. And then once you did, it made sense to, you knew your economics to then invest in your physical space. I think fitness has still been stuck in the physical space world for most of the industry. And we've just accelerated the trend where we need to realize, oh, okay, so you start with the digital fitness. You kind of figure out what type of opportunity you have, what type of business you're running, how it resonates with your audience. And if it makes sense, then you can invest in a studio. And so we're kind of rewriting what is the pathway to success in the fitness industry from like what was the previously non-digital domain to what is a digital first domain. And I think honestly, it'll be interesting to see over the next 5 years just how much of the kind of like physical space aspect we actually build into. Because I think that's incredibly exciting. And I don't view that as no longer being a part of the fitness journey. Like your body is incredibly complex and you can tell me and sell me on every version of computer vision you want, but there's something about having someone in the room correcting you that is important. Now COVID has changed that a bit, but I think the personal touch and training will still be there. I think we'll end up in a hybrid world where you do fewer in-person engagements that are deeper and more one-on-one. And then you pair that with the digital content that kind of has an asynchronous feedback loop. So that's what I kind of see as the future here in the fitness industry that might be brought about by COVID.
Yeah, it's something that I've kind of been thinking about for a while, and that obviously you see these trends and changes across different industries, even pre-COVID, but the kind of reluctancy in the fitness industry to change, to address any of these things, where now I think you're right, we're moving to this world where the gym or studio is still very much a part of the industry and the fitness journey, but maybe it's not central, it's not the hub, it's not the place where all of these things kind of start and end. And then beyond that, the other thing is, if it is, there's going to need to be an extension where how does that trainer and or instructor interact with that member outside the 4 walls of the studio? To in-depth like industry brick and mortar operators, they just say like, this is hybrid fitness or omni-channel fitness. And, we're going to have a workout app that kind of goes hand in hand with the in-studio or gym experience. And it's like, no, it's that personalization, the how do I engage with somebody? How do I build or extend that relationship piece that I think is really missing, that goes to the point that you're making. So it'll be exciting to see how the industry continues to evolve, now being pushed by kind of a flurry of people who are taking that as like, that is the standard and that's the way it will be.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly interesting. And the reorganization just the reorganization from like both the individual studio owner to the gym brands, to the licensed fitness brands, to even kind of things outside of the fitness industry, realizing they're a fitness brand, I think will happen. Like, to me, it's mind blowing that I guess I was playing professional sports, but every professional sports team, every big college football team should have some version of fitness content out there because people view them as someone who has expertise in the space. And everyone that has the possibility to activate someone's like desire to be fit, I think should be given those tools. And so hopefully this is another big area that we'll be building into, but I can't get too far ahead of myself.
Well, kind of down the part of getting too far ahead of yourself, I'm going to ask you to do exactly that as you think about now. Maybe this is kind of a, the canned maybe startup or big vision question, but if we were to, jump ahead 5 or 10 years, you're building this product, you're way past launch, and now you're starting to reach really kind of critical scale. What does that look like in terms of the impact you want to have in just Core, the company, and the team?
Yeah. So I believe in this vision where oftentimes supply induces demand. And so really what we're trying to do here is make sure that the biggest variety and diversity of people who are motivated by delivering health and wellness to others have the opportunity to build a sustainable business in the space. I think if we're doing that, we're going to have so many more people fit and healthy than we did before. And if I said, like, what is the most tangible way I'd love to see that happen, is that if people are building fitness content on Core or institutions that are kind of re-educating America on how to use and maintain our bodies, if we start backtracking those numbers that the Hospital of Special Surgeries in New York sees on joint injuries and broken bones, then that would be success. And I think what we're going to do that by is by providing a place that is a one doorway entry and management system for the entire life cycle of running a fitness business. We believe that starts with digital fitness now and then extends into the physical world. And I think there's ways in which we can get there, whether it's providing access to other rental spaces, filming content, whatever it may be. But I think it's owning the end-to-end life cycle of being a fitness business, starting with digital fitness today.
Yeah, I think those insights, just the digital piece, and then having that laser focus on the instructor, giving them the tools that they need to have the impact, that basically they've committed their life to in terms of helping people, is really transformative. So it's exciting. Again, passionate about that. As we look to wrap up here and think about, where you guys are, certainly wanting to get in touch with instructors, still building out the team, wanting to get the word out, just where can people follow along, and maybe who are the type of folks you want to get in touch with?
Yeah. So look, easiest way to follow along is just go to core.fitness and you can drop your name, follow us on Instagram. You can also just follow me and bother me. Twitter is where I'm most active, Cam39Porter. And look, like the people we're trying to get in touch with right now is instructors. If you're someone who really cares and authentically cares about what they're doing in the fitness industry and wants to scale your impact and kind of see what's possible in the digital world, I think like you're the people we want to work with. Even better if you have an audience that exists, because I really think we can help take that and help deliver a better experience and earn you more income along the way.
Awesome. Well, look, Cam, I appreciate you joining us today. I'm excited to share this conversation and certainly keep up with, everything that you're doing and Core as it gets out there to the world.
Thanks, Joe. This was awesome.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to today's episode. For more from Fit Insider, visit insider.fit.co and subscribe to our weekly newsletter for insights and analysis on the business of fitness and wellness. Then, go ahead and subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. See you next time.